Welcome. This is an interesting topic. We're going to look at some oral presentation skills. We are born speaking first without a doubt before we begin to write, don't we? So we get into the most natural way to communicate orally by speaking. So we're going to look at some oral presentation skills that can help us be good speakers. I'd like to begin with a quote from one of my favorite authors of all time, Maya Angelou. If you have the opportunity, Google her and you listen to her tone of voice, her facial expressions, the ability to convey what is in her heart to the other mind is just unbelievable. And so I like to quote her, says, words mean more than what is set down on paper. And that is true. It takes the human voice to infuse them with deeper meaning. And so we're going to focus on the human voice. Now, let's see how we can do a good oral presentation. Of course, this goes for everything, whether you're building a house, writing an academic paper, planning a trip, whatever the case is, we plan, don't we? So, planning the presentation, we're going to see how rehearsing effectively is good and how you can deliver with impact, and then maybe have a final assessment brief for you if you're interested. So now understanding the speaking context, okay, we're going to see the nature of events. For example, it could be a seminar, could be a conference, it could be speaking to junior high students about their preparation for future challenges. So you need to know the context, the nature of the event you're going to deliver a speech. You need to know it. And that can help you adjust your composure, your comportment, your choice of words, and how you can address people to be understood. So your audience, which is the type as well as the size. Is it school? Is it church? Just an opportunity to speak to children? The size also matters, which is going to affect your voice, even if you use a microphone. And so the venue setup and technical considerations also need to be considered in the modern world. And of course, timing and sequence. Time is important. If you're given a platform to speak for 5 minutes and you end up speaking for 20 minutes, your speech could be very beautiful, encouraging, but it could make people angry because we live in a world where people have little time to spare. So you need to time yourself. So some people, what they do is to visit the venue beforehand, if that is possible, to know what to expect, other than being taken for a surprise when you go to the venue and it happens to be a very big hall for which you're not prepared. So venue visits before the program is good. Now you need to define the purpose and the audience. What is your message's main goal? That's the question. What do you want to achieve? Do you want to persuade? Do you want to inform? Do you want to criticize? Do you want to teach? You need to know so that you do that effectively. And of course, you want to consider the audience knowledge and assumptions. What do they know already? So that you don't go repeating something they already know, emphasizing a simple thing, a common knowledge. That sometimes can be annoying when you go to a function and then you see speeches given and it's just about things the audience already know. They learn nothing new and that doesn't make them very happy. So you want to tailor the tone and the content accordingly to the audience, what they know, the size, the particular type of people you are speaking to. And of course, for everything, either you're writing or you're speaking orally, preparation goes into it, and research and content selection, very, very key. So you want to use credible sources and up-to-date example. Just as you use credible sources for academic writing, oral presentation, you also need credible sources as well as example that you give should be current one. They should be up to date. And you need to prioritize clarity over complexity. Unfortunately, most educated people think that the best way to communicate is to complicate simple things. That is not true. A true communicator is the one that is able to simplify complex things for clarity. Choose everyday words, words that carry meaning. Don't go for far-fetched expressions simply to impress people. Go for simplicity, go for clarity, and you will be understood because basically what you want to put across is that you want people to understand, comprehend, and accept what you say. If it is difficult for them to understand because your structures are complex, then why speak at the first place? And you also need to balance theory with relatable illustrations. When you use illustrations or example, the audience should be able to relate it. You don't speak to primary one pupils and talk about, give an example of plants photosynthesizing. You don't do that because that could be a concept too abstract for a primary one pupil to grasp. So if you speak to the audience, you want your illustration, your examples to be understood by them. That needs to be considered. And now you have to structure the presentation, the introduction, the purpose, and the outline. The body has to flow logically, and the point must come out effectively. And the conclusion would have to bring about the summary and the key takeaway. And one of the things you need to pay attention to is that you need to avoid full scripting, use structured notes. Some people, because of a stage fright, fear of the audience, they feel that every single thing should be written down. And so they have to read everything from beginning to end. That's dangerous. Suppose you lose a script, what happens? So it will be fine to use an outline or structured notes so that you look upon a note, a point from the outline, and then you raise your head and you'll be able to speak to the audience. But if you read from a script and your head is down all the time, that can take away a lot from your oral presentation. So you develop talking points. So you use prompts, not prose. Um, And of course, you include timing cues and slide changes, reminders. As you use a slide, if you choose to use a slide as I am using, I look upon it and then I talk. And then you prepare full versions of the introduction and the conclusion sometimes. Sometimes you really want the introduction or the conclusion to be very effective. And there is a possibility that having an outline, you may not hit the point. There is nothing wrong writing the introduction and the conclusion fully. Even if you do not read them, you are able to grasp the idea and speak from the heart for the audience to be moved to action. So you're managing your time, depend upon the time given to you. That depends on you, but that's just a structure that can help you. Maybe you're speaking for maybe some 15 or 20 minutes. The introduction could be about 2 to 3 minutes. Remember, a very long introduction is bad. The introduction has to be very succinct, very brief, straight to the point sometimes. The body could be 10 minutes. The conclusion could be of the same length as the introduction. And of course, you need to practice with a timer to help you be able to manage your time effectively. You can also use note and cards where you use bullet points, not full paragraphs. You can number the cards for easy reference, or else you may mix up a card and would be found wanting. And then, of course, you maintain a conversational tone. If it's oral presentation, you want to be as conversational as possible. That does not mean that you can use slang or just any word you use in everyday conversation with peers and friends. No, but you're going to look into the eyes of the audience and let them feel that connection as though you're having a natural conversation with them. And of course, you have to rehearsal of ideas and points, very key. I was listening to one of some of the Wailers of Bob Marley and the Wailers band, and they said that Bob Marley would rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. And that's why if you listen to his music, you could feel it, the masterpiece. That alone shows that rehearsal of ideas is key for a good presentation. So rehearse while standing, because that is what you'll be doing, and practice alone. And then you can seek feedback from your friends. You could also record yourself for honest review, like this video I'm doing. Sometimes, of course, human lapses. You record yourself. There's one or two errors. Maybe you ignore them. Other times you feel that, oh, this error is just too much. Then you just have to re-record yourself. And as you do, you improve and your thoughts flow very well. And so you can integrate slides or prompts into practice as you practice, and then it becomes very natural. You may not need to pause for too long for the next point, for the audience to be wondering what's going on. And so rehearsal, very important for oral presentation. And of course, the final stage, you want to deliver with confidence. You want to be yourself, and then the audience will enjoy you. So you speak extemporaneously, not from a script. And of course, you vary your tone and pace. But this one is not something you do mechanically, it comes with practice. If something is emotional, naturally, you lower your tone because you want the audience to get the point. If something is not very important, you rush it up naturally, don't you? So that one depends upon practice and getting used to the skills of oral presentation. And of course, you use gestures. Your face should be able to speak, your shoulder should be able to speak, your hand should be able to speak. And that should be done naturally. If it is natural, it's just natural. But if it is not, your gestures could draw attention to you away from what you want to present to the audience. And maintain eye contact. Look into the face of your audience. Let them see you. And across the audience, not just one place. And you want to keep your slides very clean so that once you look at the point, like this very last point on this page, keep slides clean and simple. That's just a single point. So I could look at it and talk. So keep your slides very clean and simple. Well, so it could be this assignment brief for you. You choose your topic, define your audience and purpose, create full outline with timings, develop talking point and rehearse. If you do these things again and again, you could become one of the best speakers around. And so the final reminders for today's discussion: know your context and purpose, clarity, and structure. These two matter. Rehearsal builds your confidence. Delivery is about connection, not perfection. For example, there are some errors I have made in this video, and I know that myself, but I wouldn't go delete and do a new one because I'm human and I'm not supposed to be perfect. So it's not about perfection. You want to get everything right. No, it's about connecting with the audience. They understand what you put across. And so these are some key speech qualities. If you want further information on speech qualities, you can look up some of my video on speech qualities. So I'm going to kind of rush through these ones. Correct pronunciation, which means you have to enunciate, let every syllable come out. When Morgan Freeman was asked, why do you speak so well? One of the things he says is that you have to enunciate words carefully. Every single syllable should come out clearly. Let your final consonants be heard. Of course, you would not over-exaggerate that, but every single syllable should be pronounced. Then you have to be natural. You have to be extemporaneous. You speak from your heart. You have audience contact. You have a good introduction, good conclusion. You have poise. You control the stage in a perfect way that you own it. It belongs to you. It would not distract attention from the audience. And then you end up being a successful, good speaker. Thank you very much.